Hey guys, we're back in Greenwood Cemetery in Jackson, Mississippi today. This beautiful old cemetery was once called the Graveyard before it received its present name, but we're not here to tell you about all that today. We're here to introduce you to and pay our respects to Mississippi Pulitzer Prize winning writer Eudora Welty. Come along with us, let's go explore. Eudora Alice Welty was a photographer, a short story writer, and a novelist who wrote about the South. Miss Welty was born in 1909 here in Jackson, and she grew up in a very close-knit family. And like a lot of kids, she inherited traits from both her mother and her father. From her father, she inherited a love for all instruments that instruct and fascinate. From her mother, she got a passion for reading and language. Miss Welty is probably the most distinguished graduate of the Jackson public school system. She graduated from Jackson Central High School in 1925. She went to the Mississippi State College for Women in Columbus and then to the University of Wisconsin, where she received her bachelor's degree. She did her graduate work at Columbia University. I give you those details to let you know a little bit about the skills this woman possessed. After her college years, she worked at WJDX Radio and wrote columns for the Memphis Commercial Appeal. She also served as a junior publicity agent for the WPA, the Works Progress Administration. During her work with the WPA, she took a whole bunch of photographs. During 1936 and 37, they were exhibited in New York, but they were not published as she had wanted. Her first publication was a short story, Death of a Traveling Salesman. The manuscript's editor called it one of the best short stories we have ever read. In an effort to keep this video kind of short, I'm going to give you a list of her publications and writings, and hopefully you'll go to a library and read a couple of them. And oh yeah, if you like this kind of content, boop that like button and maybe even subscribe. Her short story collections include A Curtain of Green in 1941, The Wide Net and Other Stories in 43, The Golden Apples in 49, The Bride of the Ends Fallen and Other Stories in 55, 13 Stories in 65, The Collected Stories of Eudora Welty in 1980, Moon Lake and Other Stories in 1980, and Morgana, 2 Stories from the Golden Apples in 1988. Her novels include The Robber Bridegroom in 1942, Delta Wedding in 46, The Ponder Heart in 54, The Shoe Bird in 64, Losing Battles in 1970, and The Optimist's Daughter in 1972. She won the Pulitzer for The Optimist's Daughter and, of course, is considered by many to be her best work. One of my favorite stories about Miss Welty is that in 1963, immediately after the murder of Medgar Evers, Welty wrote, Where's the Voice Coming From? Medgar Evers was, of course, a NAACP field secretary in Mississippi and a civil rights activist who was murdered by a guy named Byron De La Beckwith. Miss Welty is quoted as saying, Whoever the murderer is, I know him, not his identity, but his coming about in this time and place. That is, I ought to have learned by now from here what such a man, intent on such a deed, had going on in his mind. I wrote his story, my fiction, in the first person about that character's point of view. Miss Welty's story was published in the New Yorker real soon after Beckwith's arrest. She received the O. Henry Award 5 different times, the William Dean Howells Medal for Fiction. She was a fellow at the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. She also received the Edward McDowell Medal and, of course, the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction for The Optimist's Daughter in 1973. She received many other awards for her accomplishments, but perhaps the most notable is the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1980. For 76 years, Pulitzer Prize-winning author Eudora Welty lived, entertained, and wrote her stories in her Jackson home. This home is now a museum, but you may want to make reservations with the museum via the internet before you come. I really do hope you'll come visit the museum or at least read some of her books. Mississippi gives you the fantastically incredible Eudora Welty. Thank you.